Good evening, everyone, and welcome to our council meeting for November the 12th. Thank you for being here. Those of you who are online, those of you here in person, staff and council, I'd like to let you know that this meeting is being audio, video, recorded, and live streamed on the Town of Innisfil's YouTube channel and shall form part of the record, which will be retained in accordance with the town's retention bylaw. And for more information on that bylaw, you can speak to the clerk's office. So we'll open tonight's meeting, and I would ask Councillor Constantine, please, to deliver the land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Your Worship. The town of Innisfil acknowledges that Innisfil is situated on treaty land that is steeped in rich indigenous history. The town also acknowledges that this land is the traditional territories of the first people of Turtle Island. It is shared between the Anishinaabe people of Beausoleil First Nation, Chippewa of Rama First Nation, and Chippewa of Georgina Island First Nation, and we thank them for a generation of stewardship. This meeting place is still the home to many indigenous people, and as settlers, we're grateful to have the opportunity to work on this land. The town acknowledges the four sacrifices that are the foundation of Canadian society today. We are dedicated to honoring indigenous history and culture and committed to moving forward in the spirit of reconciliation and respect with all First Nation, Métis, and Inuits.
Thank you, Councillor Constantine. And we have all members of council in attendance tonight, so we have quorum. I'm going to break tradition just a wee bit tonight, and this evening we have a couple of special announcements that I would like to start off our meeting by acknowledging that tonight is the last council meeting for two members of our clerk's team. Lee Parkin, our manager of legal and clerks. Lee has accepted a new role as a solicitor and director of legal and legislative services for the municipality of Port Hope. Lee began his career with the town of Innisfil as an articling student in 2014 and became our manager of legal and clerks in 2015. Lee, thank you for your wisdom and your expertise over the years. Your calm demeanor and your commitment to protecting Innisfil's interests have always been appreciated, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. I had the opportunity to meet your new mayor this summer, Mayor Hanbitsky, and I'm going to let her know how fortunate she is to have you join her team in Port Hope. Congratulations, Lee. You will truly be missed. And next, our clerk, Patty Toma. Although Patty will assist in the transition of our new clerk, Jennifer Marshall, who is here in the audience tonight. Welcome, Jennifer. You want to stand up so everybody knows who you are? Welcome. Patty joined us in 2016 as deputy clerk and became the town clerk in 2022. Patty, you have been an invaluable resource to council. I can't tell you the number of phone calls we've had, and have guided us through multiple elections and even a global pandemic. Your guidance, your crazy sense of humor and honesty have always been appreciated and will truly be missed. We wish you all the best in your retirement, and I hope part of that retirement entails visiting every golf course on your bucket list. Enjoy your well-deserved retirement. And now I'd like to invite Patty forward to receive a retirement acknowledgement from me on behalf of council. I think I'll phone you on Wednesday night, just so you don't feel lonely. All right, thank you everyone for your patience. So now we'll get on with our agenda, and we've done our land acknowledgement statement, so we'll move forward to our open forum. So we did have some people sign up. Open forum is a chance for people to speak to items that are on tonight's agenda, to provide us with their opinion on the items on the agenda, and each person who signed up has 2 minutes. So we'll start with Steve Chessel, and Steve wants to talk about the Town of Innisfil Tree Protection Plan versus site plan.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm a resident of Murphy Place in the town. My topic for tonight is on the zoning. I better put my glasses on, I can't read anything. The zoning bylaw amendment for 3185 Ayrton Street. I call your attention to the Town of Innisfil official plan dated 2018, section 15.1.2. refers to a tree protection plan issued by the Town of Innisfil. In the document that's been submitted, the arborist report indicates that the woodland on the north part of this development to be in poor health. I'm here to challenge that evaluation. There are very, very large, healthy trees on that lot, and I believe that an exception should be made to either make room for those trees in the existing plan versus clear-cutting the whole property. So my request is that any future design seeks to preserve any very large trees in that property. And my request also lines up with another item on the agenda, which is the urban forest strategy, which is, I believe, another item on the agenda. And the last item I have is more of a question to council. Just turn it over here. That there's a mention in the document of a future site plan control application on page 13 of the document. So I have a question for council is, will there be feedback session for that general public when that plan is submitted?
Thank you very much. So we'll deal with that under the, so when you were referring to the site plan, you were referring to the actual urban forest strategy, were you not? Or the Ayrton
No, sorry,
property?
to be clear, I wasn't here to protest the rezoning of the property. But in the document, there's submitted where it talks about a site plan control application on page 13. I assume that's a process which we'll go through to actually define what's going to be on the development itself.
Thank you. So you're actually talking to item C4, which is the Ayrton Street property rezone that we're doing tonight. I just want to make sure we're on the right property. So when we get to C4, you'll hear what council has to say about that.
Right, Annie, tonight you're approving or not approving the C4, which is the application to combine the two plots.
So tonight, when we get to C4, we're talking about a zoning bylaw amendment. Yes.
Yes. I'm not here to debate that or whatever. I'm just here to ask the question. At some point, you can answer it, that when the plan is actually submitted to define what's going to be on the property, let there be an opportunity for the public to provide feedback for that.
Understand. And when we get to that item, I'm sure somebody will talk to that.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. The next person is Mark Elias, and it's also on C4.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. My name is Mark Elias, and I live in Murphy Place. This proposal is here to you this evening. I understand it might be a little bit preliminary, seeing as that this is just a zoning application, while some of the comments that are about to be presented to you right now are more with regards to the design that many of the homeowners have actually asked that I speak on their behalf while this is kind of all coming to place. So essentially they just revolve around two sort of quick things. It has to do with the actual location and placement of the garbage bins. They seem to be just quite close to all the existing density in the townhomes. If something can be considered during the design phase, understanding this is zoning, that's kind of an ask of the people on Murphy Place. I guess the primary concern is really regarding the row of parking that actually contains the EV chargers that face all the homes that on Murphy Place that back onto this proposal. Essentially, we're here to acknowledge that the privacy fence as constructed is 6 feet in height. That is correct. However, the final finished elevation of our first floors is 2 feet higher than the height of the privacy fence. This means that in practice, the privacy fence actually only acts as 4 feet, so not serving its intended function as it's constructed. So without sort of painting a picture of how that could affect the homeowners on Murphy Place, I can only describe it as it would be a part of our day-to-day function. I can only imagine opening up our windows and having a clear line of sight into the cars, hopefully not in a staring contest while you're just trying to get some fresh air in your pajamas first thing in the morning time, or having to constantly close your blinds in your windows just to prevent all the constant floodlights of cars that are entering into those parking spaces as the cars that come into all these restaurants and patios are coming in and coming out. Really, the ask is quite simple, that the location and configuration of the row of parking where the EV chargers are be reconsidered, along with the placement of the garbage bins.
Thank you, Mr. Elias. Next is Martin Gibson. Again, the same item, C4.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of council. My question, well, I've got a couple of questions, but one is, with the increased traffic that's going to be coming along 25th Side Road, down Lockhart, down Ireton, to go into the plaza, is there a plan to put either stop signs or another set of lights at Ireton? Also, the lighting, as my neighbour pointed out, that the elevation of the building, will the lighting be on all night, or will it be dimmed down to take away some of the glare? And do we know what, I'm assuming because there's a buggy corral going in, that it's going to be like a grocery store. Do we know what grocery store is going in? That's all I got. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So just to understand what's transpiring here, so open forum is your opportunity to make comments about something we're going to be considering tonight. So when we get to that item in the agenda, I'm sure members of council will address some of the questions that but there's no opportunity for debate tonight. The public meeting happened several, I want to say months ago, but we'll get to that item in due course.
Okay.
Thank you. There's no other items on open forum, so we'll go right to the approval of the agenda. And could I please ask for a mover and a seconder to approve the contents of the agenda for November the 12th? Moved by Councillor Waters and seconded by Councillor Richardson. All those in favor? That is carried. Next, I'll ask if there's disclosures of interest. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary or conflict of interest on tonight's agenda? Councillor Saunders.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have to recuse myself from C4 as that is a direct conflict with the restaurant that I own.
Thank you. And if you haven't as yet, there'll be paperwork for you to fill out from the clerk's office. Thank you. Next, we'll go to item 5. If seeing no other conflicts at the table, item 5 is presentations and petitions. And our first presentation is Paws and Boots on the Ground. And that would be Jane Boak and Sarah Wolcott. And welcome.
Thank you. And I'm Sarah. Thank you very much for this opportunity to welcome Paws and Boots on the Ground. What we want to do today is to explain a little bit about our charity and hopefully get your support for it and more awareness about what we're doing. I'm a volunteer with the organisation. I'm very proud and passionate to be working with Paws and Boots on the Ground. And I'm also working with Jane Boak, who is going to come up in a little minute. And you might have seen on the screen before, she also has Jet with her, the dog, who is fantastic. And I'm not sure either Jane or I can compete with that, but here we go. That was Jet. Just before I started, I actually asked a couple of your members, and they have dogs, and their eyes and lit up, and they had smiles as well. What do dogs give us? Companionship, excitement, unconditional love. And we definitely believe in the power of companionship and dogs in society. Working with Jane. Jane is an expert in working with dogs. She is one of the founders of the COPE organisation and also has 20 years plus experience in education. So who better to have founded this organisation than somebody who is also very passionate about what we do. So let me tell you a little bit about what we do and what is our aim. Really, our aim is twofold. We want to help youth in the community, and that's a big passion about making sure that we give our youth the opportunity to develop leadership skills. And the way that we do that is we borrow dogs from people in this community of Innisfil, and we work with then the youth, or Jane works with the youth, to help train the dogs to eventually become therapy dogs in the community. So it is a twofold approach, helping youth and then also helping the wider community in terms of becoming therapy. And some of you will have had experience on what therapy dogs give in a community. So why does our work matter? Well, our work matters in 4 potential areas. I'm not going to cover all of that in terms of time. But first of all, the youth. What do they get from this? Well, they get very much improved mental health. They get leadership skills. They're building their confidence, real skills that they can then translate back into real life. So that's really important. And you'll see a lovely picture there of one of our youths working with one of the dogs. What do the dogs get? Well, the dogs, and I am a pet parent as well, so I know a little bit about this. What they get is much more stimulation. They get exposure to a wider group of people. And certainly my dog loves going to these classes and kind of getting some extra training. And what we hope that my dog will do is become a therapy dog. So I'm also a pet parent. So obviously, I'm owner of a dog. What do I get? Well, I'm getting a calmer, less stressed dog. Now, she is a 1-year-old Labrador. I can't honestly say that she's less stressed all of the time. She's still bouncing around, but on our way to becoming a therapy dog. And all of that leads us into what does we give to the community? Well, in the community as a whole, we're helping our youth develop and hopefully serve the community in general in a better way and leaders of the future. We're also then, with the therapy dogs, providing emotional support to certain areas and encouraging the community in general. So we think it's really important in terms of all of those sectors. Is this going to move on? So how do we do it? The actual practical part of it is we have 3 elements. We first of all have the youth program. So the youth program is where we take a dog, we work with then youths, they're paired up with individual youths, and the youth then is helping train the dog to become a therapy dog. We then have some pet parent programs, so where we want the dogs to become these therapy dogs, we're training them in even more skills to be able to go into the local community, into hospitals, schools, etc., to provide that therapy input. Jane will tell me off at this point. She says we're not training the dogs, we're training the pet parents, and she's kind of saying yes at that point. And then lastly, what we do is take the dogs into the community and become therapy visits. So that's our kind of 3-part process to what we're trying to do. Jane, if I can get you to come up and talk a little bit about success and what you really do with Jet.
Yes, thank you. So tons of success stories. Let me start with the youth because they're the central beings that we assist. We're giving them skills, leadership skills, communication skills, and we're also exposing them to careers in the dog industry by having guest speakers come and giving them a real picture of what they need to do to carry these skills that they're learning into a job. And they don't have to go into a dog industry job, but because learning how to bring out the best in the dogs teaches them how to bring out the best in themselves too, and that can be applied to any job. So, you know, this, I think up there we have Sierra saying that the course is a true blessing because now she's thinking about what she wants to do when she graduates from high school, and it is dog related. The pet paws, as you've heard, they're a little bored when they're at home, but when they get going to the program, I can see in the dogs how much they're enjoying it. And the pet parents will say, oh my God, he can't wait till you come and pick him up and take him to the program. And the dogs are happier too. So the youth and the dogs grow together. And just like our name said, paws and boots on the ground, we're getting them both mobilized, working, whether it be the youth taking the dogs into seniors' homes or libraries, or having a job in the dog industry. Those boots are on the ground and the paws are on the ground too by providing that therapy to our community. I'll hand it over to Sarah again.
So I'm sure you have lots of presentations from charities, but what we just wanted to very quickly cover what sets us apart from other organisations. And the first one is we think we have a threefold mission. We think we're very unique in that we are combining working with dogs, youths, and the community, all three together. There's probably a lot of charities that work with just dogs, a lot of charities that just work with youths, some charities just with the community as a whole. We put all of that together. So we're very instrumental in working with the youths and the dogs. And when we're working with those and teaching the youths how to train the dogs, we're very much about transferring those skills into real life as well. So that's really important. We also have comprehensive training. A number of organisations might talk about therapy dogs, and what they do is they simply provide the screening for the therapy dogs. We actually train the pet parents as well as the youths, so it's a combination of screening them and training them. And lastly, very importantly, transferable skills. Jet is talking there. Transferable skills in terms of everything that we do with the youths. We want them to be able to take that into real life. And it's not just about leadership with dogs and communicating with dogs. It's about how can we work with those skills for the youth for their whole lives. And I think that's really important. Jane, do you want to talk about sort of some of the things that we've actually done?
Yeah, so far we've had one group of youth go through the program last spring, and we had 10 youth go through the program and 12 dogs. And now this fall we're teaching the pet parents. The dogs now have been trained and they've gone through the processes for the therapy dogs, but as Sarah said, the pet parents just need to know how to bring out that training in their dogs so that they can then independently make some appointments to visit the facilities in Innisfil to do some visits. So Paws and Boots has a relationship with the facilities and can offer these services to various facilities. So that's what we're doing in Innisfil. Part of the reason why I wanted to start this program is just to offer this to more people, more youth. And so we have sort of offered a program in Etobicoke. So we've partnered with the City of Toronto to try to just broaden the benefits of these great benefits that we see. I'm going to just introduce Jen. Okay, hang on, leave it. Good boy, thank you. is 6 months old. I'm going to say that, make some excuses here. He's coming along, but I don't think he's been in this environment before. So thank you for having us here to be able to give him this experience, because it will be very useful down the road when he matures. I'll come back again, and hopefully things will be different.
Okay. So we think we have a very bright future. What was important about saying that we work in Innisfil, we also have a program running in Etobicoke, is that we want this program not just to be Innisfil. We want to grow this because we think there's a huge demand for it for youths and developing therapy dogs across effectively all of Ontario, all of Canada. But we started here, and that's what's so important, that we can carry on here as well as in other locations. So we do want to expand in Innisfil. We have a structured therapy visit program that we will be starting in the next few months, but we're also looking for more therapy visits to do going forward. And long term, we believe that therapy visits in this community will give real comfort to a number of organisations. So lastly, we could use your help. And if we're running this presentation to a number of organisations, of course we ask for donations, money. Jet agrees with me there. But to Innisfil Town Council, I think what we really want is awareness, making sure that the whole of Innisfil knows what we're doing. Maybe we can borrow some more dogs. Maybe we can borrow some more youths. We're also interested in, of course, hosting therapy visits. So if you are organisations that want us to come and visit you, would be Jet, would be one of my dogs, etc., we'd be very happy to have that. So I think that's probably what we want from the town. Jane, is there anything else?
No, we honestly just wanted to, we're new, we just started not even a year ago. We became a charity not a year ago, and we're actually very proud of how far we've come, and we've built a great team, and we're poised to be able to repeat. We've been working really hard on setting up repeatable processes so that more youth and more dogs and more people in the community can benefit.
Thank you very much for coming. We really do appreciate it, Sarah and Jane and Jet. Very much appreciate that. Questions from members of council? Councillor Waters.
Thanks very much for the presentation, and then welcome to Innisfil. Love the dog. What are the requirements? What are the requirements for the dogs in terms of, is there an age limit? Do you start with 6 months, or do you take any age of dogs? That type of stuff.
Yep, we take any age of dogs, any.
I'm sorry to interrupt, Jane, but if people are watching online, they won't be able to hear you unless you're in the mic.
Yes.
Thank you.
Any age of dogs. In our Innisfil group of dogs, our youngest was about 6 months and our oldest was 10. So we do believe you can teach old dogs new tricks, and all of them have turned out to be fantastic dogs. We do a pretty rigorous screening program at the beginning to make sure that they're going to be appropriate. And I don't know if this was the past. Jet, this is, you can see it's like when mom starts talking, kid goes, stop talking, I need your attention. They're so human-like. Hey, Jet. Thank you, good boy. So yes, any type of dogs, any size, shape, you know, they all can offer so much comfort.
Excellent, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Drudge.
Thanks, Your Worship. Where does your main source of funding come from?
We are mostly funded by a private foundation. They haven't given us all the money we need, but a lot of it so that we could get this great start. And we're very grateful for that, but there is a component to our agreements with them of our own becoming self-sustaining in about 3 years. So that's what we're working on.
Thanks for that. There is an organization that is in Innisfil. It's a group of guys called 100 Men That Give a Damn. We get together about every 4 months, and we donate, if we can get 100 guys in the room, $10,000 to a charity. Several charities in Innisfil have came. I'd like to give you my card because I'm currently the chair of that organization. And by all means, reach out because I think there's other charities out there that could utilize those dogs as a resource to help with their charity. So thank you for what you do.
Thank you, Councillor Dodge. Anyone else, questions or comments? Thank you so much for being here. We really appreciate it. There's a recommendation to receive the delegation, moved by Councillor Dodge and seconded by Councillor Waters. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you very much. Thank you. Next on our agenda are delegations, and we go to item 6.1, which is Innovative Planning Solutions, is here to talk about residential growth opportunities for Cookstown.
Council. My name is Kevin Bouchard. I'm a registered professional planner. I'm with IPS Planning Consulting, and I'm here this evening to make a presentation to you this evening about a proposed residential growth opportunity in Cookstown on behalf of Anyet and Fariba Rahani, who are the owners of that property, and it's at 4583 Fifth Line, Cookstown, so on the west side of Cookstown. I also have with me Jim Katrivas, who's with Crozier Engineering, and he'll be available for questions, as will Fariba following. So if I can, I'll start with this. Oh, there we go. So this presentation this afternoon or this evening is really about connecting the dots with a number of processes that are ongoing now currently in Innisfil and in South Simcoe. So while I'm speaking primarily to 4583 Fifth Line concession, you'll be able to see how this is connecting a number of programs and issues that are currently ongoing in Innisfil. The first, of course, is speaking. The first thing I'd like to do is speak to the Cookstown residential growth opportunity and provide a bit of an overview for this council so it can be understood and put in context. The second is to speak to the ongoing Class EA for the Cookstown wastewater control plant and its recommendations that are coming forward. And the third is to speak to an ERO application that we've made to the Minister of Municipal Affairs in response to a petition that was brought forward by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs addressing growth and housing needs in South Simcoe County. And I'll speak to that in some detail and then bring it all together in a closing slide. So bear with me, there's a lot of items coming at you. I apologize for the density of this presentation, but you'll see how the connectivity works. So currently, of course, there is a growth management strategy ongoing in Innisfil, and Cookstown is part of that. Our client made a submission to that process in terms of the Cookstown residential growth opportunity for their property at 4583 Fifth Line in Cookstown. The site itself is about 25 hectares. It's on the immediate west boundary of the Cookstown community. Currently, it's a farm and equestrian use. What it represents, and as a planner, it represents a logical and contiguous growth adjacent to the community. It was identified as a number of locations and potential sites totaling almost 360 hectares in area as potential settlement boundary area expansions. So that's the baseline. Our client has retained a firm, Brooke McElroy, who are designers and landscape architects, to come up with a preliminary concept, and this is their concept that I'm representing tonight. But their vision is for a complete mixed-use neighborhood, emphasizing affordability, walkability, sustainability. A mixed-use community with a diverse range of housing typologies, semi-detached, singles, townhouses, mixed-use, mid-rise, etc., neighborhood-scale commercial uses, open space, and you can see the integration of natural features and buffers into this community as part of a green network. So it's a very comprehensive, thought-out community that's been developed conceptually for these lands just west of existing Cookstown. You can see how going a little deeper into it, the community is organized, and I won't go into that detail, but there's been quite a bit of consideration. And coming together with about 630 residential units in the proposed development, 420 or so are primary dwellings, and coach dwellings are more affordable types of housing to be contemplated. And the notion really is that it would be a welcome and beneficial addition to the Cookstown residential community. I'd like in my next slide, if I can get, oh no, I've gone too far. There we go. So I'd like to now go to the next item in my overview, and that's dealing with the Cookstown water control plant. And as council is well aware that the current plant is reaching the limit of its hydraulic capacity at about 81%, and there is an ongoing environmental assessment. No, however, the preferred alternative that's been identified, alternative 4, accommodates limited residential growth, but provides for no real expansion to residential growth in the community outside of the existing boundaries. So it would preclude the Cookstown opportunity that I just described to you. This is showing a number of different effluent receivers, and I'm sure you're already aware that the primary constraint to the Cookstown plant is the receiving capacity of Innisfil Creek. We have proposed through our engineer, as part of our response to the EA, to consider an alternative effluent discharge in Nottawasaga Creek. And the benefit of that, using the same technology in either alternative, would be to allow for much more enhanced residential development potential for Cookstown. And that's the underpinning of our presentation going forward. So these next slides talk about the Cookstown wastewater control plant. And it identifies, and this is an excerpt from the slide presentation that the consultant has provided, that it identifies that alternative 5, relying on a discharge to Nottawasaga Creek, really is the highest performing option for enhancing the town's growth opportunity for residential development. And I won't go through all of the detail. The direction that this the wastewater or the Class EA is going is really to prioritize non-residential uses, as you're well aware, non-employment uses at Highway 489. And we would like council to reconsider that approach in realigning the priority for growth and expansion related to this plant to residential uses, the residential community supporting Cookstown. We believe that that is in greater alignment with provincial priorities promoting for residential development in the province of Ontario. This slide, and I hope that it's been provided in some detail to you in your notes, goes through each of the 4 alternatives and highlighting the benefits of alternative number 5 to the other slides. And essentially what it's saying is that alternative 5 relies on the outfall to the Nottawasaga River. It has the highest opportunity or theoretical capacity for residential growth in this community. It is improving the dilution of the outfall from the treatment plant. It is the highest cost, but also the highest benefit in terms of providing for residential growth and development in this community. And in our view, supports provincial housing priorities to the greatest extent of all of the options. So I'm going to speak for a moment about the electronic registry of Ontario Notice 250930. And this was a notice that was provided by the Ministry of Municipal Affairs, and it was directed at addressing growth and housing needs in South Simcoe County, but more particularly at New Tecumseh. And perhaps the first reaction is, well, what about New Tecumseh? This is Innisfil and such. But the province this is going to be, in my view, as like a series of dominoes. The province is looking at optimizing residential growth in New Tecumseh. It will come down the pipe to Innisfil and further to Bradford, West Gwillimbury. So the whole South Simcoe region is going to be asked how it can optimize its infrastructure to support the provincial priority for housing. We made a submission on behalf of our client to this open opportunity that the province provided. Although it was directed at New Tecumseh, we felt there was sufficient opportunity and latitude for us to make a submission to the province. So we included the property at 4583 15th Side Road as part of the Cookstown settlement area and asked the province to consider the modification of the Cookstown settlement area to include additional residential designation, which would provide for these properties. And we felt, and we do feel, that it supports the provincial housing targets that align with the PPS for increased housing in the province of Ontario. It provides for contiguous expansion to the Cookstown settlement community, and it leverages the infrastructure that's there. It's also reprioritizing the use of that, favoring residential versus non-residential land uses. So in my concluding slide, I'm saying that the town's growth options report has identified the growth potential for about 360 hectares of land in the vicinity of Cookstown. Our client's proposal is a piece of that at 630 residential uses. The preferred servicing solution that's alternative 4 that's set out in the wastewater treatment plant class EA, it does not reflect or accommodate the potential for scaled residential growth in Cookstown. It certainly accommodates existing growth, but with these additional changes that we're proposing in terms of our assessment through closure engineering, we feel that we could accommodate a minimum of 1,200 additional units and maybe much more if we go forward with the alternative 5 solution. So there's creative opportunity in engineering to come up with solutions that are better driven and aligned with provincial priorities for housing in this province. So in this presentation, it's bringing together a number of different things that are ongoing at once in South Simcoe. We're hoping that by connecting the dots here this evening, we sort of raise the perspective of, well, what are the other opportunities that are already in front of us, and where are we going with provincial initiatives that we can see coming, and how can we align these processes together to better serve the province objectives in providing additional housing. These are my comments. I'm certainly available for questions with Mr. Katribas as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Burchard. Questions or comments from members of council? Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks very much for the proposal. Over the past 4 years, we've been going through a whole series of increasing our settlement boundaries, and the town planners and council and the communities have already chosen those areas in terms of Stroud and North Alcona. And there were literally 10 or 20, 30 other opportunities for us. We just don't need that land. And considering the current marketplace right now, we certainly don't need to have that and go through all the hoops that you're talking about in terms of expanding the wastewater. We're going to do that, but in due time. So our concern right now is with the lands that we're already happy with, the community's already happy with, and will accommodate growth in Innisfil for the foreseeable future. So I'm not too sure, if we say yes to you, then there are umpteen different other properties around there which will want to get involved as well. So I find it very difficult to understand how we would all of a sudden decide that your piece of property that you want to connect is more important than the ones that we've already agreed to as a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Drudge.
Thanks, Your Worship. Just to kind of piggyback off of Councillor Waters' comments, Cookstown itself already has, I believe, over 2,000 units waiting for wastewater, some of them being west of 27 and others being northeast of 27. And that's just a ballpark. It could be much more than that, but 2,000 for sure. So I question on why we would want to have more land sitting there waiting for development. And I guess my other question would be the alternative for A or 5. Can we comment on why we didn't choose that as an option? And why we're going with the preferred, I believe it was 2?
Manager Correa or Director Lee, whoever wants to answer.
Thank you, Mayor Dolan. Essentially, the alternative 4 was actually through the EA process that In-Services was conducting. So they went through the process of identifying the preferred solution and the alternatives. The alternatives, and I'm not likely going to get all of this correct. Obviously, In-Services staff are in the room as well. But essentially, all of those alternatives look at a series of criteria, whether those are financial criteria, servicing capacity. So they look at those opportunities and then determine based on that, sort of they score all of those alternatives, and alternative 4 was ruled out based on a number of limitations. In terms of the specifics of that, I don't know if Mr. Panic is able to speak to that tonight or not. We may have to take that back.
All right, thanks for that. Yeah, I would assume it was probably be the cost and location of trying to get that pipe up to the Nottawasaga Creek. It's quite a distance, and I believe it's uphill. My other question is the comment you made about commercial industrial. I disagree that Innisfil needs more residential. I think our commercial industrial is lacking. I think there's not enough jobs in Innisfil for the residents that we currently have, and I would strongly hope that this council would support any commercial industrial endeavor before we do any more residential. So that's just my comment. Thank you.
If I could refer.
Please, Mr. Burchard, I think I know what you're going to say, that it may not be your priority, but it's the provincial priority right now is to build more homes. But Mr. Burchard, go ahead.
Yes, thank you. And just to respond, I think it's not a question about having to make choices. I think with the appropriate decisions and capacity decisions relating to the wastewater treatment plant, you're not making a choice between a non-residential, so the Tangier Mall or a casino, and residential uses. You can accommodate both. And our perspective is that these processes are occurring separately and individually, and it's worth, I think, taking another look at how they fit together cumulatively. And the driver, we think, is going to be the ERO process that will come, we believe, from the province to consider the opportunity for optimizing. So from our perspective, it's more about missed opportunity, going forward, rather than having to make choices now or later. Thank you, Mayor.
Anyone else? Questions or comments? I just wanted to say that, yes, it's a priority of the province right now to develop residential property, and we're certainly doing our part. When we went through this exercise of settlement area boundary expansion, we had 20 times the amount of land that we put forward that we could absorb with the growth that we think we're going to need. We don't want to be another Barrie. We don't want sprawl. We want to have compact development and make sure that the land, if we're bringing Greenland into our settlement area boundaries, that we use it appropriately. And so we'll go through this process. Of course, the ERO process is another spinning wheel. The casino that's currently under construction at Highway 89, the second line and the 400, has a ministerial zoning order. So it's obviously a priority, or it wouldn't have been given that order. And we'll thank you for your presentation, and we'll take it under consideration. And if there's any more questions, seeing none.
May I just make a comment?
Yes.
Thank you for this time. We are really honored. I wanted to just share with you about a minute of the story that the mayor is aware of. For 17 years, we have tried to get this land included. If you look at the location of the land, it's within 8 minutes walk from downtown Cookstown. My husband and I both emigrated to Canada, and we are very passionate about affordable, accessible housing. So for us, this property just happens to be very nicely situated. This is not for financial benefits. I know we are not developers, we are not landowners, and we have closely followed. And you're correct, there is a lot of housing, there isn't enough affordable housing. The design that you saw, and I really encourage you, because we have been at it for years and years before all this became even more issues. And it was designed to create an integrated community where young couples come, where elderly come, where people with accessibility needs come and make it their community, where units created allow affordability, accessibility, not just another development, not that there is anything wrong with that. So the reason we have carried through, we have hired planners, we have gone through engineers. When you look at the land, it's right adjacent, below the lagoons. It doesn't get any more obvious. Within minutes from GO Train and within minutes from many opportunities to give Cookstown that vibrancy. We know the processes are the processes, and we are going to carry through with this, but I wanted you to know that we are extremely passionate about this, and we know there is a lack of affordable housing. No matter how many houses are being created, we lack affordable housing, we lack integrated communities, and that's really the proposal that's in front of you. The process doesn't line up, there are many processes, but we do appreciate that you have given us this opportunity. I hope I haven't stepped out. The mayor knows how passionate I am for sure about this. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you for your passion and thank you for your patience. Cookstown is an anomaly when it comes to servicing and always has been. In fact, the piece right beside you that is in the settlement area boundary that has not been built out, I met with him in 1997 for the first time, and he's still not built. So it is an issue. Servicing is an issue. Servicing any of the solutions are expensive, and that, even complicates the issue more. So, but thank you for your presentation. It's much appreciated. And I would ask for a mover and a seconder, please, to receive the presentation. Moved by Councillor Zanella and seconded by Councillor Drodge. All those in favor? That is carried. Thanks very much. Next is item 6.2, and that is Mr. Brock Bell, our urban forester, and he's going to come forward with a presentation about an urban forest strategy.
Good evening, Your Worship, Deputy Mayor Fowler, members of council, staff, and residents. My name is Jeremy Ninehouse. I'm the Stormwater, Drainage, and Environmental Service Manager, and with me today is Brock Bell, Town Arborist and Urban Forester. Tonight we've got the privilege of presenting to you the Town of Innisfil's Urban Forest Strategy. This is the town's first comprehensive roadmap for the urban forest. As part of the directive of council outlined in the town's strategic plan, it was realized that there was a need for urban forest management. The purpose of this strategy is to share the long-term vision of our urban forest and how it can move from a reactive tree management to proactive stewardship. In preparation for tonight, on October the 6th, we presented the draft urban forestry strategy to the Innisfil Sustainability Advisory Committee and received some valuable feedback. This evening, we would like to focus on a few sections of the urban forest strategy and review with you the current state of our urban forest, the vision and strategic goals outlined within the strategy, some of the next steps, and there'll be some time at the end to answer any questions. This slide shows the town's current state of the urban forestry program. The criteria was selected as they are indicators of the progress, and they focus on the areas of importance for council to be aware of. For the last year and a half, we have had a contracted certified arborist, Brock, on staff who has completed all tree inspections and oversees the tree inventory completed by our co-op student. Brock has also introduced a new tree planting program for the town and is shifting the town's maintenance program from reactive to proactive. Brock's main focus has been to complete the town's first urban forest strategy, which lays the framework to create an urban forest management plan. This will ensure that the town has the proper information and protocols to develop and implement the urban forest management plan based on a complete tree inventory and the needs of our residents.
Urban tree canopy cover is one of the best measures of health for our urban forest. It is the layer of leaves, branches, and stems that cover the ground when viewed from above. It tells us how much shade, stormwater absorption, and habitat our trees provide. It helps us find areas that could benefit most from new tree planting. Currently, the town has an estimated 14.6 canopy cover within our settlement areas, which spans over 3,400 hectares. The town-wide canopy is closer to 23%, and the majority of these trees are located on private property. As part of understanding the urban forest, it is essential to have a town-wide inventory of town-owned trees. Since 2018, this inventory has grown to over 7,000 trees. 5 out of the 9 settlement areas are now complete. The tree inventory now represents 93 species and cultivars, which shows strong biodiversity. These numbers will continue to increase as we expand and refine the tree inventory. This strategy is built on collaboration and a cyclical approach. We start with plan. By using data from inventories, canopy studies, and community input, we set priorities and targets. Next is manage, by putting resources into maintenance, removals, planting, and protection based on what we've learned. Then we monitor, tracking tree health, canopy cover, and program outcomes to see what's working. Finally, we grow through strategic planting and partnerships to expand the canopy and improve equity across all neighborhoods. Coordination between key town teams such as operations, capital engineering, development engineering, and municipal law enforcement will ensure that we are continuously working to plan, manage, monitor, and grow the urban forest. This cycle allows for ongoing evaluation and adaptation so that the strategy stays effective and responsive to new challenges and opportunities. The town has established a vision for the urban forest that reflects both municipal and community priorities. The division was developed in partnership with working groups and is based on community input. The vision states, the town of Innisfil greatly values its urban forest and the numerous benefits it brings to the community. Committed to sustainability, the town is dedicated to nurturing an urban forest canopy that promotes biodiversity, benefits human health, supports recreation, and is resilient to climate change, ensuring the urban forest thrives for future generations.
The urban forest strategy sets out 7 strategic goals that we would like to go through tonight. Goal number 1 is increase canopy cover. The target within the strategy is a 30% canopy cover for all settlement areas. Currently, we have approximately 15% canopy cover. However, this number will increase with tree inventory and the tree planting program as it continues. Goal number 2 is to ensure fair canopy distribution. We want to ensure that there is equal canopy distribution throughout all settlement areas and prioritize the plantings in the areas with limited cover. Goal number 3 is to increase biodiversity. We aim to increase biodiversity in our parks and boulevard trees, which will aid in the urban forest resiliency throughout the town and combat invasive species. Goal number 4 is to increase awareness. We want to promote and educate the benefits of the urban forest within the community.
Goal number 5, promote stewardship. The majority of the urban forest is located on private property. By engaging and informing residents of the benefits of the urban forest, we aim to promote urban forest stewardship. Goal number 6, improve monitoring. We aim to improve our tree inspection and routine processes so that we can better understand the health of the urban forest, track change over time, and respond proactively. And finally, goal number 7, reactive planning to proactive management. We aim to do more work in proactively managing trees by developing operational programs to protect existing trees and to promote new tree planting throughout the town. Once the strategy is adopted by council, the next step would be to create an urban forest management policy and tree bylaw. The policy is intended to set the corporate-wide direction for how we care for trees. It aligns with the Municipal Act, which requires municipalities to adopt and maintain policies on how they will protect and enhance tree canopy and natural vegetation. This policy will set out the corporate expectations for tree preservation, planting, and maintenance, and by committing the town to principles like no net loss and achieving a 30% urban tree canopy target in our settlement areas. This policy will be the compass. It sets the direction and principles for how we manage trees, while the urban forest strategy will be the roadmap that shows the steps that we'll take to get there and guide us towards proactive management. Together with the tree bylaw, they create a unified corporate-wide approach to protecting and growing a healthy, resilient urban forest. The Town of Innisfil's tree bylaw will be our regulatory tool, giving the town the authority to protect trees and ensure the urban forest is managed fairly and consistently. This bylaw will set the rules for tree protection. It will define when and how trees can be removed, what protection measures will be required during construction, and what compensation must be provided when trees are lost. It will make sure future growth happens while protecting the overall canopy. Specific details of the bylaw are yet to be determined. To make this bylaw effective, we will need municipal enforcement resources, trained staff and with the time and tools to monitor compliance, respond to infractions, and follow through on enforcement actions. Through assessments we've done over the past year, it's clear that this bylaw is a much-needed tool for the town, turning our canopy goals into requirements and giving the staff the authority and resources to protect trees throughout the town. The adoption of the urban forest strategy will give staff direction towards implementing the strategic goals outlined in the strategy and to build the foundation of the urban forest management plan. We will continue to grow and complete the tree inventory, and the urban forest management policy and tree bylaw are in development and are expected to come forward in future meetings in Q2 2026. Thank you, Your Worship and members of council, for your time, and we would be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you very much for the presentation. So we'll take questions and comments for the presenters now, understanding that it is an item later in our council agenda as well. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a question regarding deciduous versus coniferous trees that are going to be planted. Do we have a site-specific plan? Will that be incorporated into the growth canopy? Because if you take a look at, for example, the coniferous trees around power lines would be less of a risk with the branches overhanging on the lines. It might assist things or around stormwater management ponds where the deciduous have the branches that go, and that could create cover in parks or places where it would be less intrusive and potentially dangerous during ice storms like we just suffered through, I guess would be the best term, yes.
Mr. Brock?
Through you, Your Worship. As far as the tree planting, we won't be committing to, the plan is to follow a rule called the 10, 20, and 30% for species composition. So not any one species will be committed to planting entirely. So 10% of trees on the landscape won't be committed to a certain species, which helps spreading the diversity of trees throughout the landscape. I hope that helped answer your question.
I understand the diversity. I appreciate that very much. I'm just asking if it will play a part in the process. Well, you're saying with the diversity, but if you take into account the nature of the power lines that we have in town, will that be taken into a factor as to what species would be planted? I'm not asking for 100%, fir trees down by the power lines, but would that play a factor into for future
events that may occur, is that taken into account as part of the species that would be planted in certain regions? That's all I'm asking. Thank you.
Mr. Bell?
Yes, through your worship, yes, that will definitely be considered.
Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you for your presentation. I do appreciate the work that's been done around the strategy. I do have some concerns about the bylaw, and I understand we're not passing that now, but just when we think about mechanics of a bylaw, and you may not have the direct information for this, how do we separate the rural and the urban in a bylaw? What my understanding is a bylaw covers the whole town. Is there stipulations to keep the regulations to the urban areas? As you know, the rural areas already have some county bylaws that regulate the forests, and also in the agricultural community, there's some efficiencies that need to be acknowledged when it comes to dealing with the landscape that they're working with and the trees that are on their property. So just maybe a comment on is how the mechanics of splitting a rural and urban area in a bylaw would happen.
Director Bowman.
Through your worship to Councillor Ices, if I could take that one first. I just want to thank you for your interest in the bylaw. As you mentioned, it's not on our decision-making list for tonight, but staff are working on this in the background, and we're hearing you about needing to land this carefully. We are taking into consideration best practices. We're also trying to harmonize our bylaw and decisions with how the county manages forest. And we're also trying to find strike the right balance to meet the needs of our community, respecting both residential and urbanized areas, as well as our agricultural land uses. So that said, we'll be taking that away, as well as your interest in that and considering how we build that bylaw. And we'll certainly look for your input as we come back and provide that to you.
Other questions or comments? Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thanks very much for the presentation. Finally glad to see this come of light because it's been around for a few years, and so it's finally nice to see it. So thanks very much for all the work that you've done on this. Two questions. One has to do with Councillor Icy's comment. Does this strategy deal with only settlements areas, or is it the entire area of the municipality?
Sorry, through your worship, it's through the entire municipality.
Thank you. My second question is around, we've had some dramatic impacts on our canopy over the past year. One was the 9th line where all the trees were taken down against Leslie Street, where we lost a lot of trees. We even lost trees on our own property. The other one was the decision by the town to allow the loss of EP lands. So would this strategy here be able to prevent that type of tree loss and tree canopy loss in the future?
Mr. Bell?
Through your worship, yes. The strategy will aim to preserve trees where see fit, and that mean the most in order to preserve and protect the urban forest.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments? Seeing none, I thank you for this presentation. I think part of the confusion is calling it an urban strategy. So people thinking if they live in the rural part of Innisfil that it won't affect them. So maybe some thinking around on how we can communicate that. And I think when when people will really stand up and pay attention is, through the bylaw process, and would encourage an open, transparent, fully engaged community, because finding that balance between, not stopping farmers from what they need to do versus not having developers clear cut trees without doing a tree preservation study first. All of those things will create a balance for the community. I just wanted to also say that I was in a planning advisory committee meeting with the County of Simcoe today, and we were dealing with the Greenland designation in the county official plan. And I was learning about the LiDAR way of mapping the tree, the boundaries of the woodland, plus the canopy height. I'd never seen anything. I was quite amazed how much more accurate the new mapping is than the old mapping, and that it could even map the canopy height, so you'd know if there was, there was a spot that was sparse within the woodland. It was really interesting. So I'm wondering, are you going to be able to piggyback on the county and that technology in order to help with the inventory here in Innisfil?
Yes, Your Worship. There is some LiDAR data actually coming down the pipe right now through the Ontario Woodlot Association and through some third parties that is going to be publicly available. So we're aiming to actually use that data in order to kind of to collect and get a better picture of our canopy using LiDAR data specifically.
Thank you. And the one other criticism that I hear most when it's about trees, well, there's two. So one is when a developer's coming in, he's got to plant one tree per lot on the boulevard, and we don't take possession of that for a number of years sometimes. The trees die or aren't watered properly, and sometimes we say, well, that's not our problem because the developer's going to have to replace it because it's a deficiency before we'll assume the subdivision. But residents don't see it that way. They see it as, we see it as, it doesn't matter because the developer has to replace it, so it's not going to cost the taxpayer. But the resident sees it sometimes as, why can't you just water the tree and keep it alive and not have to plant a new one? It'll grow faster. And then the other, this is what I like about the proactive versus reactive, because the other, what I'll get sometimes is people in a park and they'll see a tree, and I'm not an arborist, but I have a friend who's an arborist, and drives her crazy when she sees, are they called suckers or something that will choke a tree if they're not properly maintained? And she's always sending me pictures of trees that have suckers on them that are in parks or on town property that she feels aren't being properly maintained. Can you tell me a little bit about how this strategy might help us in that process?
Yes, for sure. The strategy, we'll be working towards creating a lot of these operational plans for trees that are planted in our parks per se to closely monitor their development and how they're growing. Also through the tree inventory that we're currently creating, we can spot a lot of these defects as we're creating the inventory and as we continually update the inventory and reassess these trees. Being able to kind of check and assess the tree and also deploy a treatment for the tree and what state it's in. So being able to really accurately update and work through this inventory will help us get a better view of what we have and our tree assets, and then also preserving and protecting them and making sure we have a healthy canopy.
Thank you. Any last comments? If not, thank you very much, Mr. Ninehouse and Mr. Bell. I think I called you Mr. Brock the first time, I'm sorry. And a mover and a seconder, please, to receive the adoption of the urban forest strategy be received. Are we adopting it now, or we're just adopting the delegation right now? Thank you. Thank you. I think that's the wrong, oh no, it's the delegation. You're right, sorry. Councillor Waters and Councillor Zanella, thank you. All those in favor? Thanks very much. That's carried. Sorry, I'll have to start looking to my right. I keep looking to my left. Wonderful. All right, that does our delegations for this evening. So now we'll go on to item 7, which is municipal associations or committees that this council has appointed you to, and if there's any updates from any of those groups. Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. This week at County, the 2026 draft County of Simcoe budget follow-up meeting item was pulled, and there was a lot of discussion amongst the county councillors. We were given multiple options, but the debate went on considerably for almost an hour, I believe it was, and everything was discussed from down to 2% versus services provided up to 4.5, but after a good series of debates, we were looking tentatively at 3.5, sending it back to staff, having them come back to us with the county, and then it can be reevaluated if anybody has any additional plans or ideas to lower it or take it down, even down to 2.75 to 3.25. There was discussions and there was an appetite for that. So we're looking at this very closely at what options we have available before we move forward at the county level. Thank you.
Thank you. Did you want to talk about the motion that was put on the floor that was defeated to bring the budget down?
There were numerous plans brought forth, various means to take down the budget itself, but one of them was to defer the pay increase at the county level for this particular year, so to maintain the status that we have of the wages currently. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else have any associations, committees they'd like to speak to? Seeing none, I just have a couple. I'll be quick. South Simcoe Police have been meeting. The board's been meeting regularly. We're meeting again tomorrow, and we continue to work through a very challenging budget year. The draft budget is a double-digit right now increase, and we'll be looking at that again tomorrow. But it's going to create pressure on our budget this year. The Ontario Small Urban Municipalities met in Parry Sound. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend, but I did Zoom in, and there was a lot of resolutions coming from different municipalities that wanted support, a lot about school boards, a lot about ASC cameras. So that was a full half day up in Parry Sound. At the county, yes, there was a motion to put forward to postpone council remuneration for 1 year, not to do away with it, but to postpone it for 1 year, being it's such a difficult year, and save $385,000 off this year's budget. Unfortunately, it did not pass. There was also an item to update the recreational bylaw in county forests. So every county forest has a list of things you can do and things you can't do in each forest. And the new track that was donated by the Sinclair family, called the Montclair track in Churchill. So the counties agreed that there'll be no hunting in that track, which I think it's near an urban section. So I think that was a very good decision. And finally, I volunteered to be on a AMO commercial. I'm telling you this ahead of time because please take it with a grain of salt when it's supposed to be a bit of a comedy. So I hope it goes over like that. I am no actor. I will not quit my day job. The idea is that AMO receives significant federal funding every year. It's called the Canada Community Building Fund. Used to be called the Gas Tax Fund, but now it's so, and it is distributed through all of Ontario's 444 municipalities in a formula base every year. It's been around several years, and it's predictable. You can stack it if you want to over years. You can spend it on a lot of different things. It's very versatile. It's a wonderful program. We get about $1.1 million a year out of that program, and we can count on it. It's not like when you apply for funding and hope and pray you get it, and then it gets taken away the next year. So one of the issues the federal government has always had is that they don't feel they're getting enough attention, praise. There's not enough attention on this money that they're giving to municipalities. So AMO decided, instead of the very dry annual reports, to try to do something fun and inventive. So I'm not saying any more, but I hope it goes over the way it was intended. And that's it for my updates. So seeing any more, we'll go on to the per diem for conferences and expenses. So this is a bit of a housekeeping issue. So every council member is given an allowance of what they can spend for training opportunities. And this would allow them, if they sign up for a training opportunity, be it in person or virtual, that they can claim their per diem as long as it stays within their expense ceiling. So mover and a seconder, please, for that. Deputy Mayor Fowler and Councillor Ices. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we'll get to the consent list. So this is where all of the agenda items that have been on the website for a week with a staff recommendation attached to them. We will go through the list. If people want to ask questions or discuss the item further, we'll either, if it's a fulsome discussion, we'll refer it to committee of the whole and have that discussion in committee of the whole and maybe have amendments to the recommendations. If we're happy with the staff recommendation, we'll simply confirm them at the end of this meeting. So A1 is the special council meeting minutes dated October the 22nd. A2, the council meeting minutes dated October the 22nd. B1, the summary report from the Innisfil Accessibility Advisory Committee meeting. I just wanted to comment that although I totally understand, I found it very sad, the Breaking Down Barriers program, that the lack of volunteers and how hard it is to sustain that program. I totally get it, and I appreciate that doing it during Accessibility Week in one spot would take a huge amount of effort away from committee members, and I honestly don't know how you do all of those schools every year. It's just an Herculean effort, so thank you to the committee members. B2, the Council Compensation Ad Hoc Committee minutes. C1, the Property Tax Billing and Collection Policy. I had mixed feelings with this one as well. I think that, during these very difficult times, to go from, I think it was 3 years to 2 years. But then when I started reading it, I think it's better at 2 years because the accumulated interest, it's still a mountain to climb, but it's not as big a mountain to climb if you haven't got that accrued interest for another year on there. So thank you for that policy. C2, the Q3 operating and capital finance. So we're going to pull C2 to committee of the whole. Councillor Zanella. C3, the adoption of the Town of Innisfil's urban forest strategy. Does anybody want to pull that? Speak to it? Sure.
I just want to make one last comment about the strategy. I wanted, besides I'm glad to finally see it, is compliment staff on producing a good report, because one, it has a baseline. So we know that we have 14%. We also have a target, which is nice, which is 30%. So we have a baseline, we have a target. We're well on our way to a good strategy. 3, there's a schedule, which we can say, if there's no schedule, what's the timeline, all that kind of stuff. So you address that, and then you also addressed a budget as well. So I wanted to say that I was very pleased with the strategy and congratulate staff on producing a fine report. So I didn't say that at the beginning, but I thought at least I'd pull it and mention that now. So thank you very much. And like I said, I hope it becomes used as a lens, not only for the community's benefit, but also for planning's benefit when they're looking at developments coming forward in terms of how we protect trees. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Waters. C4, the zoning bylaw amendment for 3185 Ireton Street. Councillor Zanella is pulling that to Committee of the Whole. C5, the 2026 council meeting schedule. Seeing none. D1, the building permits issued. Q3, the 2025 update. D2, the 7th line from Yonge Street to the 20th Side Road Rehabilitation Project. Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. I don't want to pull this item. I just want to thank staff for recognizing the needs of that road. And I know that wasn't on the to-do list for this year, but it got moved up to recognize those issues. And thank you for doing that in Ward 1.
Deputy Mayor Fowler.
Thank you, Worship. I'd like to agree with Councillor Ices on this, because I can speak for Councillor Zanella and myself that we ride that road. We were riding that road every day, and it was getting in severely bad shape. So I concur. It's good that we moved it up. Thank you very much for that.
Great. Next, we go to item E, which is the bylaw for the 2026 tax levy. And E2, to appoint Jennifer Marshall as a statutory position of town clerk, the town of Innisfil. Looks like you have a job there. Congratulations. Welcome to Innisfil. G1 is the correspondence for information. Oh, sorry. I skipped over correspondence for action, correspondence for information, the Development Charges Act amendments due to Bill 17. The Innisfil Public Library Board, the Police Services Board minutes, and G4 is the county meeting highlights from October 21st, and then G5 is our proclamations. I think we're raising a flag for violence against women next week. And that's everything. So now we'll go to the consent list continued, to the consent list recommendation. So we're pulling two items, C2 and C4, moved by Deputy Mayor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. And now we will resolve to Committee of the Whole. Moved by Councillor Ices, seconded by Councillor Saunders. All those in favor? That is carried. So, Councillor Zanella, item C2, which is the third quarter financial update.
Thank you, Your Worship. Could I just have an understanding regarding the rescoping? Because I think I understand it, but I just want to make sure. So the reconstruction of the 25th Side Road was all, the money was put aside for the entire thing, and then now we're going to do it in segments. Am I correct, or is...
Thank you. We'll get a seconder on the floor, and then we'll go to that question. Councillor Drodge. And I'll go to Director Lee. Oh, sorry. Thank you.
Through Your Worship. Thank you. The project was always split up into various parts. Now it's been combined, so we're doing design as one whole for the entire design, and then construction is still being phased.
So my other question is then, the money that is going back is, we're not going to have to put any extra money out. This is, it's going back in, and the money that we're going to need to do for the 288 will come out of the money that's going back in?
Mayor Dolan, I may start that question, and then I'm sure Finance will want to chime in as well. So the money that's being returned, that money will be needed in the future for the actual construction. In the interim, it will be used to offset the additional cost for RDS 288. And so as we bring forward future capital budgets, we'll have to look at how we fund the construction for the different parts of the 25th Side Road project, and may have to realign other capital projects based on what is in development charges and ARS at that point in time.
Thank you. And just one last question. When will it be completed, the 25th reconstruction? When will it start and when will it be completed? Because I think it was supposed to be 2027. Sure.
Through you, Mayor Dolan. So as Manager Duca had indicated, it was actually always intended to be phased, so there were different phases at different points in time. What staff are proposing is that we'll do all of the design and land acquisition up front, and then the intent is that we will phase over 4 sections, essentially from 2029 to 2032, which lines up with when we would have likely done construction, because the dates that were identified originally in the capital plan were actually the start of design, not construction timing necessarily. So that's what we're intending. As we indicated, it'll be phased while we anticipate certain sections being done at certain points in time. By doing the design and the acquisition up front, we may change which phase happens at which point in time because there may be less challenges, so utility relocations or other challenges that we can't overcome. So it'll allow us to sort of pivot between the varying sections of the road that we would look to construct.
Thank you.
Thank you. Did I not read in there that there was construction for the Big Bay Point piece in 2026? Maybe that's a separate project. That would be the piece north of...
So Mayor Dolan, that was the 25th Big Bay Point to Mapleview reconstruction in 2026. So that section of 25th, correct.
Thank you. Any other questions? Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Worship. A question I have is from the 11th down to the 10th. That seems to be on the radar as part of this. Park Ridge just finished doing all new curbs, all new asphalt. Does that work into the plan that we have? And a part 2 of that is that, as I understand with some of the plan that we have for the 25th, there are walkways and multi-path walkways along the side of that. And I'm just kind of curious, as a community benefit, why wouldn't we have gotten Park Ridge to do all that as opposed to us having to do it later? So first of all, is what they've done staying and we're not going to be pulling it up? And B, the walkways that are not done now, is that something that we'll put in as part of this construction?
Manager Duca.
Through you, Mayor Dolan. So the work that has been done has been accounted for. So the plan is to have that there, and we would just bypass that. We would not be reconstructing the sections that have already been done. So I can answer that part. And then, Director Lee, can I pass off the second part to you?
Sorry. So I think the second part in terms of the trail and the connection piece specifically?
Yes, I remember when the 25th design came up in public meetings, there are all sorts of opportunities to have sidewalks and multi-path along the side at different sections. So I can't remember what's involved in that particular section, but is that part of the construction, and why wouldn't we have gotten Park Ridge to do that, as opposed to now we're going to have to go back there and work up against brand new curbs and all that kind of stuff? Thank you.
Thank you. Through you, Mayor Dolan. So the trail specifically would be constructed at a later date, so it's not being done as part of this particular part of the project. And I'm not sure if there's any...
Might I suggest maybe perhaps what we could do, because this was a Q3 financial report and we've kind of taken it in a different direction. So maybe at some later point we can get an update on like the phasing of the project. And because I remember watching the cross sections as they were much more urbanized south, like just north of Innisfil Beach Road, and as it got north, it got to be a more rural cross-section, if I remember correctly, but let's let staff bring it back and kind of give us another, because that was, I believe in COVID, we did those, because we were all online at that time, so it's probably good we all had a refresher on what it looks like going from Innisfil Beach Road north.
That works for me.
Any other question on the Q3 financial update? Seeing none, all those in favor? That is carried. And Councillor Zanella again.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My seconder is Jennifer Richardson. So I wanted to talk about a couple of things. First of all, the EV parking behind Murphy Place. So I did a little bit of research, and the short-term exposure is considered safe. However, there are ongoing discussions and calls for more research on potential long-term health effects of chronic exposure to EMFs from all services, including EVs. And the precautionary principle involves minimizing exposure to EMFs wherever possible. The cumulative exposure of low-level EMF exposure over long periods is a subject of ongoing study. EVs are relatively new. They're just in the last 10 years, so we don't know what kind of effects are going to happen in the long term. So I don't know that, and you know, I don't want to find out 20 years from now that it's causing all kinds of problems. So I understand that this is just a conceptual drawing and that things can change. So what I would ask is when this comes back to staff, because I know it won't come back to us, it'll come back to staff, if they could keep that in mind, that is a real issue for the residents and an issue for me too. And it's something that I think we really need to look at. The second issue that I wanted to talk about is the garbage bins, and I recognize that there has to be a garbage bin by each building. But if they could be, if it's possible, that's another thing that when it comes back, if staff can look at having those as far away as possible from residents' backyards. Because, like, let's say I'm Mary and I live on Murphy Place, and I'm going to ask Linda to come over for a glass of wine in my backyard. I don't want to, you know, I don't think she's going to want to sit there and listen to clanging garbage and the smell of garbage. So if they could be as far away from those backyards as possible, that would make me happy, and I think it will make the residents happy. And the third thing I want to talk about, I think somebody asked about what kind of buildings. Now, I know we don't have any say of what is going to go in that plaza. That's, if I'm correct, that is up to the developer when the plaza gets developed to see who wants to lease property in there. We don't have any kind of say in what is going to go into that. Am I correct in that? Yeah.
Director Lee, or sorry, go ahead. Manager Curray.
Through Mayor Dolan. So the property will be developed in multiple phases at this point in time. They won't know every single tenant. It's expected that there'll be an anchor, like a grocery store starting at the north and then working its way south. Being at the zoning bylaw stage, it, at this point, just permits a range of commercial and mixed uses. The tenants will be determined later on.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Correa, I wonder if you could, for the benefit of the earlier speakers in the open forum, kind of walk us through where we are right now, the planning public meeting that we had, I can't remember when, and the site plan application and the delegation of that to staff and so on.
No problem. So firstly, the official plan is designated as a downtown commercial area, and so there's no official plan amendment. The zoning bylaw being considered by council tonight is really to implement what that designation at the official plan level permits, which is a range of commercial and mixed uses. So right now, council's considering the zoning bylaw amendment. If approved tonight, the applicant would be required a detailed design site plan control or site plan application. We did have a public meeting to consider the zoning bylaw in 2024, where we had a number of comments raised, a lot of which have been reiterated tonight, respecting design and the layout of the site. There's a technical report on the agenda tonight that kind of goes a deep dive into all the staff responses to those comments raised at the public meeting held in 2024. So tonight, staff are recommending approval of the zoning bylaw amendment. If approved, there would be a detailed site plan process. Now, there was a question raised about whether that would come back to council or to public. I just want to reiterate, site plan is a staff level approval, so it's not anticipated there would be further public open houses or consultation should council approve the zoning tonight. So the next steps are really the detailed design if the zoning is approved, which would be a future application.
And just before I go back to you, Councillor Zanella, so we delegated authority to staff for site plan application some time ago, but since then the province of Ontario has required all municipalities to delegate site plan to staff in order to cut red tape. So Councillor Zanella, go ahead.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to say that I do really like the layout now of the design. I know back in the, when it first came out, it wasn't so nice. I think I really like the design the way it is now. It's much better. And that's it.
Councillor Waters.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to have to disagree with my colleague next to me around the EVs. I'm surprised that somebody would bring up, there are thousands upon thousands of cars going in and out of that parking lot every day, and the emissions coming off those cars is probably 10,000 times worse than the dangers of an EV charger. The EV chargers, one, do make a noise, but they only make a noise when they're charging. They're silent most of the time, and most of the charging only occurs during the daytime, during commercial hours, when you have a lot of traffic going out. So you'll never hear the EV chargers when they're going. On the EMF is an issue. I will agree with that. But that is mostly associated with high voltage power lines where you do have noticeable health effects. And there are all sorts of transformers that run through our municipality that give off the same amount of EMFs as a EV charger that is used only occasionally. Most of the time it's just sitting there not doing anything. So I think the health effects associated with EMF associated with EV chargers is really quite minimal, because EMF is an issue, but on a much larger scale around the millions of voltage that comes into our towns via in power. So I'm going to disagree on the health effects of the EV chargers, and just to make it a balanced approach, that one for, one against. So there we go. Thank you.
Councillor Zanella.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. To my colleague, I realize that it is, and I said that in the research that I did do, that it is very minimal, but at this point in time, there are ongoing studies, and we don't know what long-term effects are. These are people sitting out in their backyards. They're sitting out in their backyards for hours. People are charging their cars, or there's still something coming off of them. And I would rather be safe and say, let's put them in a different location where they're not in people's backyards, so that if 20 years from now, we find out that, oh, you know what, we should have never had those things there, because now look at everybody's getting, whatever. So, thank you.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Worship. I'm not going to go into the sciences too much, more the aesthetic value of people's properties in regards to the EV chargers. If you take a look at, for example, Park Place, they are significantly distanced from any building or location. With the size of the lot, we could easily move them to the center of the parking lot. That way you get the health concerns addressed, you get the aesthetic value for the residents addressed. It's something that allows people to walk a shorter distance to the store while they charge their vehicle. There are many benefits to it. So moving forward, if we could ask staff to take such ideas into account for the site plan, it will be greatly appreciated by council, members of council, because it would end this debate, as well as help address the needs of the residents and their comfort in their own backyards.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? Councillor Drudge.
Thanks, Your Worship. Yeah, I could agree more with the Deputy Mayor. I think this is simply, you have the resident support in the project to be built. So I think the developer and staff should really, appreciate that we don't have a house full of people here tonight against the project as a whole, and they're only looking for some small tweaks. So again, if we could work with the small things that the residents are asking, I think that would be advantageous, I can't even say that word, to everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Other questions or comments? There was a question, I believe, in open forum about traffic studies and all that would have been completed prior to the zoning public meeting. Am I correct, General Manager?
Yes, thank you, through you, Mayor Dolan. So there was a traffic impact study prepared, which also highlighted the fact that our own transportation master plan does speak to improvements and signalization down the road. Through site plan control, we will further study the traffic. However, it's anticipated as an interim measure, there'd be an all-way stop at 25th and 10th, and then potentially future signalization, which was previously identified prior to this application as part of the town's transportation planning. So that was considered as part of the review of this application.
Thank you, and I think it's suffice it to say that the general manager of planning heard the concerns regarding where the parking is, and there is a science to engineering and site plan applications to make people happy, but also to make our fire department happy, the garbage trucks happy, and everyone else that has to access that parking lot. So, Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. Thank you, staff, for the update. Just maybe for the residents, do we have any idea when the project would actually start as far as construction of this? Is there any idea on that?
Through Mayor Dolan, I believe the applicant's agent is online. However, knowing that they have to go through the detailed site plan process, I couldn't confirm exact timing. It is spoken to in the staff report. They do intend to proceed in phases, starting at the north end of the property with their anchor site. But I couldn't confirm an exact time on when they would propose permits.
Thank you. And one final question that just came to me was, I received an email sometime today about someone asking why there wouldn't be doctors in this plaza. But would a pharmacy with a walk-in clinic would be allowed in this zoning? Would it, Mr. Correa?
Through you, Mayor Dolan, confirming yes, the medical office would be a permitted use and could be one of the range of uses contemplated.
Thank you. Seeing no other questions or comments, we have a mover and a seconder for the recommendation. All those in favor? Any opposed? That is carried. Thank you very much. Next, we'll go to our rise recommendation. Moved by Deputy Mayor Fowler, seconded by Councillor Constantine. All those in favor? That is carried. Consideration to adopt the recommendations in Committee of the Whole. That would be C2 and C4. Councillor Drudge, Councillor Ices, all those in favor? That is carried. We have a notice of motion. It'll be considered and debated in 2 weeks at the next regular meeting of council. And next is announcements. And I've got one, I'm not gonna step on anybody's toes, I promise. But I have one I just want to talk about first, and then I'll go to the wards. So a big congratulations to a few staff, Jen Lloyd, Sandy Foster, and Shelley Brook, for receiving the Hopeful Hearts Award for Community Collaboration from CFS Consulting and Wellbeing. I was at their annual general meeting to observe them being surprised and getting this award, and it's about collaboration. So it's collaboration on initiatives such as teen nights, bringing Youth Call to Rizzardo, and various other organizations. The YCAN to better serve our youth. So it was a lot of youth, and the CFS staff couldn't say enough good things about our staff. So it was wonderful to be there and to hear those words and to take a picture of them receiving their award. So now I'll pass it on to Ward 1, Councillor Ices.
Thank you, Worship. Just some upcoming Spartan games. November 15th, Spartans versus the Flyers at 7:30. The Spartans will be paying tribute to our veterans that night. And then also November 30th is the 4th annual Spartans PJ toss at 3:30. So look to come out and support the Spartans there. Also, November 15th, the YMCA birthday celebration is happening at the YMCA, the Rec Center, a free community day to celebrate. So if you have time, come check that out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Constantine.
Thank you. Once again, the Innisfil Senior Wish donation boxes are out for the start of Christmas Bags of Love campaign. And you can find one at the Legion, the branch 547, one at Taste of the Europe, and one at Leafroy United Church. They collect socks and toiletry for seniors for Christmas.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Richardson.
This Friday is a PA day, so over at the Lakeshore branch, Innisfil ID11 Lakeshore branch, from 1:30 to 2:30 is a hands-on science adventure event. On Saturday, November 22nd is the annual Nantire Holiday Market from 10 till 2. And then following on the 23rd is one of my favorite events, which is the Innisfil Santa Claus Parade. On the 29th of November is Rotary's annual Gingerbread Contest from 10 till 3. And just a reminder to residents, although no one likes to hear it, but starting this Saturday is no overnight street parking.
Councillor Ward 4.
Thank you, Worship. November 23rd, breakfast with Santa at the Lions Club from 9 till 12. On November 28th is the Fire Station #1 annual tree lighting. Also happens to be my birthday, just for, okay, you know.
You want us to bring cake?
Hey, that would certainly lighten the night, yes. And on the 29th is Goodfellow Holiday Market. It's Goodfellow Public School, and the holiday marks, that's November 29th. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Zanella.
Thank you. This Saturday, the 15th it is the 15th, right? Yep. This Saturday, the 15th, is the holiday market at Lakeside Dance at 2723 Ireton Street. So make sure you get out and check it out. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Saunders.
Thank you. November 15th is Sandy Cove Art Show at the Wheel from 10 to 2. On November 22nd, there's the tree lighting at Friday Harbor for 5 p.m. and their holiday market will run from November 21st to November 28th, or sorry, to December 28th. As well, there's a general meeting at the Legion on November 16th, and there's a chili cook-off for members on November 15th, and on November 22nd, there's another chili contest, which I will be in on November 22nd.
I don't think it's fair that a chef that owns a restaurant should compete against us amateur home cooks. I'm just saying. Councillor Drotch.
Thanks, Your Worship. November 15th, there's a dinner and dance at the La Magia La Murgia Market Bakery and Butchery in Cookstown. The tickets are $65. It starts at 7 p.m. Also on November 15th at St. Peter's Church in Churchill, there's a bake sale happening from 9 a.m. till 2 p.m. On November 22nd, Cookstown's annual Light Up Night and Parade is taking place. On November 19th, the Innisfil Tourism Summit is taking place at Three Feathers. On November 29th, the C4K Charity Concert in Churchill in the United Church is taking place at 7:30. And also on November 29th is the Guildford Local Eatery Winter Market taking place all day. And tree lighting happening there as well.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a side note, I mean, as the winner of the Golden Ladle this year, I don't think you should be talking about how someone does their chili. The only thing that I was overlooked at this moment in time is this 22nd at the Morgan Russell Memorial Arena, there's a holiday market. But this past week, 2 weeks, we've been actually rather busy. Spooktacular was a phenomenal success. We had markets at the Legion and Beach Avenue. We had the 5th annual Autumn Art Show for 2 days at the library, which is incredible. We had over 1,000 pumpkins, like over 1,000 at the Pumpkin Walk. And more importantly, we had numerous Remembrance Day ceremonies over this past number of days. We had one at the Legion. We had one in the morning at Cookstown, followed up by the one in the afternoon at Sandy Cove. I was lucky enough to represent the town of Innisfil in Barrie. We wrapped it up last night with a dinner with the veterans at the Lions Hall, and it was a phenomenal event. Kudos to everyone who made that happen. That's incredible. It was just a really, really well put together event. And I just want to give a shout out to Wendy and Steve. Thank you for having me at their wedding celebration this past weekend. It was incredible to see 2 old souls become young again in each other's arms. Thank you.
Thank you. It's such a busy time of year for council, so I encourage you all to get out and enjoy it. There's so many wonderful markets, pop-up markets, and places to spend your money locally, so please do that. I just have a couple more and I'll let everybody go. So I was at Station 2 today with the fire chief and the fire marshal and Enbridge Gas, and they donated, and I've forgotten already how many, 264 fire or smoke and CO2 alarms that that have been given to Innisfil Fire and Rescue to make sure that people are going to be safe, and they'll be looking after distributing those for us. So that was great. I also just wanted to say that it was lovely today to fly the flag for the first time for the Children's Grief Awareness Month with the Seasons Center, and it was encourage everybody on November the 20th to wear blue. The annual Fire Service Awards were really well done, Chief. There was so many people there. It was standing room only, and I particularly enjoyed seeing the faces of all of the families that were so proud of either their new recruits or their loved ones getting a medal for years of service, and it was a great event. During the Candy Festival, which was in the fall, and I can't remember the exact date, the Wild Lemon Company booth was there. And what was incredible is that young Easton Bradshaw, who is just high school age, ran the whole vendor event himself on his own. And so today, we gave him a certificate of recognition for being a young entrepreneur in our community. And he was very chuffed about that. I just want to thank everyone. I know a lot of council members participated in Poppy, standing and giving out poppies at different locations around town. I love seeing the great turnout we had here at Town Hall. And again, a big thanks to the Lions for all of their work. And that's it, except to say that I hope everybody enjoys the Grey Cup this weekend. And we'll see you all next week for a public meeting, and the week after that for a regular council meeting. And have a wonderful rest of your evening. Can we have a mover and a seconder for the confirming bylaw, please? Moved by Councillor Drodge and seconded by Councillor Richardson, that we adjourn at 8:59 PM. Madam Clerk? Madam former Clerk? No, till Monday. All those in favor? That is carried. Thank you.